1. In the moonlight. He picked a buttercup and held it up to her chin. "Do you like butter?" he asked. "Butter," she exclaimed. "They are not made into butter. They are made into crowns for the queen. She has a new one every morning." "I'll make you a crown," he said. "You shall wear it tonight." "But where will my throne be?" she asked. "It shall be on the middle step of the stile by the cornfield." So when the moon rose, I went out to see. He wore a red jacket and his cap with the feather in it. Round her head there was a wreath of buttercups. It was not much like a crown. On one side of the wreath there were some daisies, and on the other was a little bunch of blackberry blossom. "Come and dance in the moonlight," he said, so she climbed up and over the stile, and stood in the cornfield holding out her 2 hands to him. He took them in his, and then they danced round and round all down the pathway, while the wheat nodded wisely on either side, and the poppies awoke and wondered. On they went, on and on through the cornfield towards the broad green meadows stretching far into the distance. On and on, he shouting for joy, and she laughing out so merrily that the sound travelled to the edge of the wood, and the thrushes heard, and dreamed of spring. On they went, on, and round, he in his red jacket, and she with the wild flowers dropping one by one from her wreath. On and on in the moonlight, on and on till they had danced all down the cornfield, till they had crossed the green meadows, till they were hidden in the mist beyond. That is all I know, but I think that in the far, far off somewhere, where the moon is shining, he and she still dance along a cornfield, he in his red jacket, and she with the wild flowers dropping from her hair. 2. Writing a book. "Let us write a book," they said. "But what shall it be about?" "A fairy story," said the elder sister. "A book about kings and queens," said the other. "Oh, no," said the brother, "let's write about animals." "We will write about them all," they cried together. So they put the paper, and pens, and ink ready. The elder sister took up a fairy story and looked at it, and put it down again. "I have never known any fairies," she said, "except in books, but, of course, it would not do to put one book inside another. Anyone could do that." "I shall not begin today," the little one said, "for I must know a few kings and queens before I write about them, or I may say something foolish." "I shall write about the pig, and the pony, and the white rabbit," said the brother, "but first I must think a bit. It would never do to write a book without thinking." Then the elder sister took up the fairy story again, to see how many things were left out, for those, she thought, would do to go into her book. The little one said to herself, "Really, it is no good thinking about kings and queens until I have known some, so I must wait." And while the brother was considering about the pig, and the pony, and the white rabbit, he fell asleep. So the book is not written yet, but when it is we shall know a great deal. 3. The 3 men and a family. It was a sunny day. 3 old men with long white beard were wandering on the road. They saw a beautiful little house and decided to enter the house. The old men knocked the door. A lady opened the door. The old men asked whether they have all members of the family. The lady replied, "Me and my mother-in-law are here. My husband and children will be back to home in the evening. Please let me know how can I help you." The old men told her, "Then we will wait until all members of your family return home." The lady replied, "But you look so tired and weak. I will bring you some food. You may have some rest." They said, "No and no problem, dear. We are not hungry and we don't need anything. We shall wait till evening." All 3 men were sitting under a tree and relaxing. Children reached home after school and the old men talked to them. It was almost 6 p.m. and the lady again requested the 3 men to have some drink at least. However, they denied. The woman, her mother-in-law and children were little suspicious, as they had no clue about who those 3 men were. In an hour, her husband reached home. She told everything happened and asked him to talk to those men. The man invited them to come inside their home. The entire family welcomed the 3 old men and requested them to get in. The first old man told the family, "I'm so sorry. All of us cannot come to your home. You have to choose one among us, as we all don't enter into a house together." The family was confused, while the first man added, "I'm love. If you want to have the flow of love and peace forever in your house, pick me." He pointed the second man and said, "He is wealth. He will give you enormous wealth." Pointing the third man, he said, "He is success. He will provide you success in all your attempts. Now you can choose one among us and the person you choose will enter your home," ended the 3 men. The family started discussing about choosing from them. The lady told to invite wealth as they weren't very rich. However, the man refused and wanted to invite success and prove him to the world that he is very successful in the world. Alternatively, the children and the old lady, the grandmother of the kids, had a different thought. They wanted to invite love, so that the family will stay happy forever. After discussing for some time, the family decided to invite love to fulfill the desire of children and the old lady. The entire family approached the 3 men and invited love to stay with them. By hearing this, all the 3 old men entered the house happily. All were surprised and they questioned. Success told them, "If your choice is something other than love, the person you chose will be with you." Wealth added that, just as your choice if love, success and wealth is accompanied by love, the place filled with love will be filled by abundance, prosperity and success. Share love and choose to stay lovable. 4 Elephants and a Rope. Sui was a sweet boy and a wildlife lover. He was fond of elephants, the mammoth animals. In fact, he was very crazy about elephants. However, he never had a chance to see real elephants. All he saw those mammoth creatures were only in television and computers. He lived in a small town. The place he lived didn't provide him a chance to visit the elephants. All his only desire was to see and touch at least an elephant before he died. Fortunately, when he was 25 years he got a chance to join a crew of wildlife lovers. He inquired them about their plans and with eagerness, he asked whether they would take him to see the elephants. And they said yes. The journey happily began and they visited various places. Sui was so happy and enjoyed the tour to the core. He was waiting for years to visit the elephants in real life and the day came. As they passed through the forests, they walked past a beautiful village. One from the team said that the village had more than 100 elephants and Sui could enjoy the entire day in that village. There was nothing in the world that could measure Sui's happiness hearing those words. Finally he saw those elephants for the first time in his life. He was amazed to see the elephants and screamed happily. After spending 2 to 3 hours just seeing the elephants, he was shocked to see those elephants tied to a frail fence. It was a thin rope, not even a chain, and there was no cage or any kind of shelter where the elephants lived. Instead, there were simple sheds without any doors. Elephant tied with rope. Sui was surprised as he knew the strength of elephants and saw them tied to strong chains in the television. He inquired one of the countrymen about why they were left freely without any protection and also asked won't they easily break the rope. The trainer answered Sui, "They won't." Sui was surprised and asked how. The trainer replied, "They were trained here since their childhood. When they were babies we used to tie them with a strong rope and the kid elephants weren't able to break them. The rope or chain we used to tie them when they were small. It was strong enough to hold them. A few elephants would try to break the rope or chain, but could not set them free. So as they grew, they developed a false belief that the small and thin ropes were too strong for them to break and they continued to get tied by their belief. Sui was amazed as well as shocked. The powerful mammoth wasn't strong enough mentally to get them free from a thin rope. However, he left the place as he was happy to see the elephants. Our lives are like the elephant's false beliefs. We follow the false beliefs we experience and fail to try out something just because we did not accomplish it earlier. 5. The donkey on wheels. There was once a poor little donkey on wheels. It had never wagged its tail, or tossed its head, or said, hee-haw, or tasted a tender thistle. It always went about, anywhere that anyone pulled it, on 4 wooden wheels, carrying a foolish knight, who wore a large cocked hat and a long cloak, because he had no legs. Now, a man who has no legs, and rides a donkey on wheels, has little cause for pride, but the knight was haughty, and seldom remembered his circumstances. So the donkey suffered sorely, and in many ways. One day the donkey and the knight were on the table in front of the child to whom they both belonged. She was cutting out a little doll's frock with a large pair of scissors. "Mistress," said the knight, "this donkey tries my temper. Will you give me some spares?" "Oh, no, Sir Knight," the child answered. "You would hurt the poor donkey, besides, you have no heels to put them on." "Cruel knight," exclaimed the donkey. "Make him get off, dear mistress, I will carry him no longer." "Let him stay," said the child, gently, "he has no legs, and cannot walk." "Then why did he want spurs?" "Just the way of the world, dear donkey, just the way of the world." "Ah," sighed the donkey, "some ways are very trying, especially the world's," and then it said no more, but thought of the fields it would never see, and the thistles it would never taste. 6. On the way to the sun. He had journeyed a long way, and was very tired. It seemed like a dream when he stood up after a sleep in the field, and looked over the wall, and saw the garden, and the flowers, and the children playing all about. He looked at the long road behind him, at the dark wood and the barren hills. It was the world to which he belonged. He looked at the garden before him, at the big house, and the terrace, and the steps that led down to the smooth lawn. It was the world which belonged to the children. "Poor boy," said the elder child, "I will get you something to eat." "But where did he come from?" the gardener asked. "We do not know," the child answered, "but he is very hungry, and mother says we may give him some food." "I will take him some milk," said the little one. In one hand she carried a mug and with the other she pulled along her little broken cart. "But what is he called?" asked the gardener. "We do not know," the little one answered, "but he is very thirsty, and mother says we may give him some milk." "Where is he going?" asked the gardener. "We do not know," the children said, "but he is very tired." When the boy had rested well, he got up saying, "I must not stay any longer," and turned to go on his way. "What have you to do?" the children asked. "I am one of the crew, and must help to make the world go round," he answered. "Why do we not help too?" "You are the passengers." "How far have you to go?" they asked. "Oh, a long way," he answered. "On and on until I can touch the sun." "Will you really touch it?" they said, awestruck. "I dare say I shall tire long before I get there," he answered sadly. "Perhaps without knowing it, though, I shall reach it in my sleep," he added. But they hardly heard the last words, for he was already far off. "Why did you talk to him?" the gardener said. "He is just a working boy. And we do nothing." "It was very good of him to notice us," they said, humbly. "Good," said the gardener in despair. "Why, between you and him there is a great difference." "There was only a wall," they answered. "Who set it up?" they asked curiously. "Why, the builders, of course. Men set it up." "And who will pull it down?" "It will not want any pulling down," the man answered grimly. Time will do that. As the children went back to their play, they looked up at the light towards which the boy was journeying. Perhaps we too shall reach it someday, they said,